What's your name?
And some of you may even, grew up with me, because I've been at this church since the inception, and I've been at the mother church for quite a long time. So I'm going to just, Fu asked me to share about cycling, but I thought it was a good time for me to share about my testimony, and then along with cycling and running and everything. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I was originally born in Kowloon, next to Hong Kong. Yeah, Kowloon. Yeah. And I can even remember back when I was going to a very prestigious school in Kowloon. It's called Puijing. That I never did good in school. Okay. When you do bad, when you do below 60, they'll write it in red. Write your report card in red. My report card is like a checkerboard. Red, black, red, black. So I'm not a scholastic person. Okay, but I did have a happy childhood in Kowloon. We lived in a high rise, and there's many young boys, little boys there that we played together. Okay. And my family decided to move over to Memphis back in 1968, 69. Okay, and it was because there was a better opportunity here in Memphis, so I didn't really know, why we would move over here, because we had a good family life. We had aunts and uncles that lived over there all together with us, and I really enjoyed to Memphis. It was a culture shock because I didn't know the language, and I had to go to school, and I couldn't speak to any of the children there. So that caused me to become a more shy, reserved person. Okay. And my family, as soon as they moved over, they started a convenience store, grocery store business. Okay. Just like, hardworking people here, like Yang, everybody, the whole family has to work in the store. Okay. And it was hard work because, you have to stock the shelf, stock the drink machine. And I wasn't old enough to, but at the time, but you have to cut meat, sell meat, and like a butcher. But I wasn't old enough, so I just did the stock the shelf, and I was a cashier. So when the opportunity came for me to go to church, on Sunday, what happened was one of the pastor, Reverend Shi Wu, came and asked us to, see if we wanted to go to First Baptist Church on East Parkway. Have you seen that big church on East Parkway in Poplar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my home church. That's First Baptist Church. Okay. And they would have a bus that come every Sunday morning to pick me, my little brother, and my younger sister to church. So I wanted to go because I want to get away from doing work. Right? And then not too long after that, I was baptized. I didn't know what it meant to be baptized. No one really explained to me in a word that I could understand, because first I didn't know English well, and 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 I couldn't understand the Chinese that they were spoken, you know. So there was all above my head, but yet I was kind of like the sacrificial goat for family. You know, they needed someone to to represent the family. So I still remember, you know, before you get baptized, you have to walk down this aisle in the middle of the church when Pastor Dr. Caldwell called. You know, it was very scary because you know how big the church is. It's got upstairs, downstairs, thousands of people. So, I was one of the one that had to walk down the center and say that I want to, accept Christ. So I accepted Christ, got baptized very young. I think I was maybe 10 or 11, accepted Christ. They still didn't know what it meant to become a Christian. Okay, so But every Sunday morning we would go to church, and I would just play with my friends. We just play. We don't really. Well, we have to go to Sunday school, but during service, me and my friends will play upstairs. You know, or sometimes we'll walk away from church and go to Walgreens and buy candy. As a young child, walking away from a church, think about maybe your child, 10, 11-year old walking across Poplar.
Wow.
You know,
That's dangerous.
yeah, that's a youth camp every year. At this youth camp, or at church, is where I got to know Kenny Johnson, Alex Johnson's husband. We were in the same class, and we attended every year. We attended church. I mean church camp. Okay, we didn't have the money to pay for the church camp, so but the church somehow had sponsored to pay my way to attend the church camp. And going to church camp away from home, away from working, was the best time of my life. It's nothing now, except for my marriage, can beat that time. It was just the best time in my life. So all during school, elementary, high school, I went to church and also went to church camp every year. But then, toward my senior year, I started drifting away from church. I didn't want to hear it. Once I started driving, actually, it wasn't even senior. It was once I got my car. I got my car at 16, and after that, I quit going to church. Okay, so plus, church didn't really have any meaning except for some place to go play. Okay, so while I was in high school, uh, not really bad people, but they weren't the A students. I did not associate with the A students. I would associate with people that like to go out and drink beer, party, go go find girls. You know, that's the kind of life I lived back in high school. And again, same just like when I was young, school was not good for me. You know, checkerboard, red, white, red, black, red, black. So after I went to Central High School, by the way.
Because maybe may need some help. So I summarize a few words for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I started CBU, Christian Brother College. I went there for a few years, and also went to U of M. Actually, back then it's called Memphis State University, and I studied engineering. But I didn't go into engineering. Okay. After college, George and myself started. George Cito here. He's also a friend of mine. A very close friend. We grew up together. We went into the supermarket business. We were trained to be a manager in the supermarket. Okay. And I did that for a few years, but they sent me down to Mississippi to run a small store, very small store, by myself. So there was no friends. I just went by myself and just the workers there. So I was working there six days a week. Always work weekends. Always work, from 9 o'clock till maybe 8 o'clock at night, every day. So it was no fun. So I was getting bored. So I had an opportunity to visit a friend in California back in '89. I went out and visited him. I loved it so much. It was so much fun. There were so many Chinese people there. I came back home. I quit my job. I moved out to California, in Northern California, San Francisco. All within a month, within 1 month time. So, and that was a big change in my life. Because my dad was very lenient, I didn't have fear that that you know um, he was actually too supportive, too lenient. Because I can remember I did stupid things like I do things behind his back. I actually bought a motorcycle behind his back and kept it away from home. Okay, and I bought the motorcycle. Didn't even know how to ride a motorcycle.
Where'd you get the money?
I was working. I also worked during as a waiter when I was going to school, high school. So I bought a motorcycle, learned how to ride it, then I was able to drive it, drive it back, and I kept it away from home. Okay. And that motorcycle, I guess God must be telling me something, because that motorcycle got stolen within a few months. Okay, it got stolen. So God didn't want me to get in the motorcycle. But that wasn't my first. That wasn't my last motorcycle. Back when I was in college, I started jogging. The reason I started jogging is because I read somewhere where your heart is supposed to be at a low rate when you're resting. Maybe 60, 70. Okay. My heart rate when I'm sitting down watching TV, it was like an 80, 85. So I wasn't very, I guess my heart wasn't very strong, I guess. So I decided to start running. So I started running when I was in high school and college. I would run around the block, maybe a mile or two. I'll do it maybe once or twice a week. So that's when I started my. I used to run with a guy, a black guy, and he could not run unless he had a beer first. He'll drink a tall 16-ounce beer before right before we run. Sometimes I'm there stretching, He's there drinking the beer, and I tell him, "Hurry up, come on, we gotta go, we gotta run."
You didn't throw up?
Huh?
You didn't get sick?
Surprised.
He ran better after the beer. He was a guy that I used to work with at the restaurant. He was a cook while I was a waiter, so me or him was friends. Plus, it was good to have a black guy run with you, because when you're running in Whitehaven, in a black area, it's dangerous. So I had a black friend to say, "Hey, I'm good." And sometimes he run with a beer, so that's even better. People ride by and say, "Hey." They would support us in running. So, and after I moved to California, I continued my running, but I also bought a bicycle and started a bicycle. Very seldom, maybe once a month or so, But I would run. Well, after I moved to California, I got a job to support myself, working right back into the store. This is a big chain store called Lucky's Food Store. It's very similar to not Safeway, but Kroger's, big chain store. So they gave me a good position to work, and I made very good money. I was in a union, okay. Back then, in 1989, I was making $14 an hour, which is very, very good. Because I was in the union, okay. So that helped me, pay for rent. The rent, is very expensive out of San Francisco area. I rented a small room, maybe about from the wall to about here, just enough for a bed. Okay, just enough for a bed. It was someone's garage that's turned into 4 different rooms.
Man, they're making some money.
Yeah, they make some money.
They have one restroom for 4 people. So I would rent one room, and it would cost me like $350 back then, which was kind of high. So at the same time I was working at the supermarket, I also took programming classes, computer programming classes. And after I graduated, computer program classes, I was able to leverage my job with Lucky Food Store to work at their corporate office. I was fortunate enough to work at their corporate office, in programming. So I was really, really happy, and my dad couldn't be happier for me because I have an 8 to 5 job. No more, no more. 8 to 8, 8 to 9, and I have an 8 to 5 job Monday through Friday. So I had more free time. I didn't know what to do with Henry, Henry Yee, and he introduced me to to a church of his. It's called Chinese Independence Baptist Church, CIBC. They're about maybe 4 times the size as far as membership, but the building is not bigger, about the same size. But they're a trilingual church, you know, English, Mandarin, Cantonese. But they had a very big network of college and career groups. Okay, each group, each career group that was in, we had their own little committee, had their board. They have a chairperson, secretary, uh, uh, um, activity person, missions person. So each group had their own little board. And anyway, I started attending that church because I wanted to meet more people. So so and from that church is where I learned what it meant to become a Christian. Through friends, uh, um, constantly talking to me about Christian things, and and they were really, I could just tell they were really concerned about me. So so after a few years of going to that church, well, maybe not that long, I say after about 2 years going to that church, I decided to accept Christ. We have something every Friday. We have a ministry. All the different auxiliary group will meet at church, and after we meet at church, we'll have a group like this, and we'll talk, sing, share testimony, have Bible study. And afterward, we'll walk down the street to Chinatown in Oakland, and just have. I decided to accept Christ. So 3 other brothers opened up the church, came back, and we prayed, and I accepted Christ. Just to just a side note, um, today I prayed to have a calm heart before I come here, because usually when I'm in a group, I'm usually very nervous, and I'll start sweating. Okay, you'll be like, oh, wet here. And I think that my prayers have been answered today, because my heart is very calm, and I'm not nervous. So the Holy Spirit will work if you ask Him. So after I became a Christian, um, I started actually having more difficulty. Everything I did, it seems like it's wrong. Everything I used to enjoy is wrong. So I started drifting away from church. But fortunately, I had my 3 brothers, friends. They had got together and formed a small group, and we met, once every 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks, and they kept me, glued together. They kept me staying in church. Okay, this is a cell group, and we started that. They started that for me. It's me and 3 other brothers. They started for me, and there'll be different people coming in and out. But this caught on fire for for being a Christian. I got on to the board. The group that I belonged to was YAF. I'm sorry, YAF, Young Adult Fellowship. And I became a board member, and I started planning activities, became very involved in church. I also started driving the church bus to pick up senior citizens around the neighborhood to church every Sunday. Okay, and it was not an easy thing to do because you have to get a commercial driver's license, and in California it's very difficult to get a commercial driver's license. Okay, but I did it, and that was one of my ministry. I drove seniors around, and also anytime they need a bus driver, I was a bus driver. And then also a few years down, I attended 3 years of mission trips down to Mexico. Okay, we would go for a week at a time. We'll go down to a very small village in Mexico. These people has, like nothing. Has very little money, nothing. Just little shacks. It wasn't a big city. Very small rural village. And we'll go down and we'll hold Bible studies for the kids. We'll have VBS for the kids. It was funny because very few of us knew Spanish, but yet, they understood. We had enough to get by. Because every morning we'll have one guy with a guitar. We'll walk the street singing, and we get all the kids to come follow us. That's how we get them to come to a few words to get for the kids. And the kids just loved us. They just followed us around. There's a big crowd following us, and then we'll end up at the VBS at the local church. Okay. So that was called Mexican Caravan Ministry, and I did that for 3 years. One of the years, the senior pastor came with us. Okay. You didn't stay in a hotel. You stay in a room like this. You may have like 8 people living in a room like this. It's very rural, and it was very difficult to live. There's no air conditioning. There's one restroom, so you have to get in and out, taking a shower within 3 minutes. Because we have a team of 18 people that go down there, one restroom. Okay, 3 minutes, and there's no hot water. Okay, cold water. So if you don't get out of the restroom in 3 minutes, they're gonna knock the door down. But it was fun, and it's really, it really caused me to want to serve more. And at the same time, I was working, as a programmer, going to church. I continue my running lifestyle because I would run during lunchtime at work. We have trails near my company. I'll go run, finish, take a shower, and I'll do it like 2 or 3 times a week. And then back in 1998, after about 9 years of living in California, Northern California, I kind of missed my family. So I decided to become a consultant, quit my permanent job, become a consultant and found a job with First Tennessee Bank, where I am now. I was a paid contractor for them for a short period of time. And so I started with them, and I was able to see my family. It was great. I never intended to stay here in Memphis because I loved out in California. Because in California, where we live, I was close to the mountains, I was close to the beach, the wine country, and the crime rate was low except for maybe, in Oakland. I didn't live in Oakland. And there are a lot of Chinese people everywhere you go. It's almost like living in Hong Kong again. So I really enjoyed California, but I missed my family more. So I wanted to come back just for a short time and see my folks. But one thing led to another. I ended up, getting involved with this church. Actually, when this church had its first service, I was here for that. I had moved back, just in time to attend this building, church at this building. Then pretty soon I got involved in the ministry at this church. I started teaching adult Sunday school. Even though I never taught a class before in my life. Don't like to be in front of anybody in a group. But yet Penny asked me to help teach a group. I did that for a few years, and I swapped over to high school and adult high school. So I've been here ever since, and my my contracting job became permanent after a year and a half. They decided they want to, you know, after the Y2K, they want to get rid of all the contractors. They don't need the contractors anymore. But they just need people to help them get through the year 2000. Okay, so after my consultant gig, they wanted me to stay at First Tennessee, so I stayed with them, and I've been with them ever since. Okay, and you know, my number one my number one prayer item was to find a girlfriend, find a wife, you know, find somebody who's compatible. Okay, I've been on many dates, but you know, nothing that really worked out well. I might have a short dating relationship with a woman, maybe 3 or 4 months, but never longer than that. So I constantly pray to God to find a soulmate for me. Okay, and and after 15 years, I quit praying about it. I knew God wanted me to be single. But it turned out that it wasn't because God wanted me to be single. He was waiting for me to become ready. Okay. Um, if he would have given me a soulmate back then, I would have maybe dated a few months and it didn't work out because I wasn't ready. So fortunately, I met my wife on the internet and things worked out. And
that's why you're good at computer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I work downtown. During lunchtime, I would also go out and run, and so I've been running ever since college. Okay, and back in 2006, I got serious and decided to run longer distance. So I did, I think 06, 07, or 08, I did half a marathon once each year, 13.1 miles. Okay, and running was never a fun thing for me. Some people enjoy running. They get a runner's high. They feel good. They feel like they can run. But for me, it's very hard. Every time I have to motivate myself to get out and run. Okay, because it was a very difficult. My heart beating hard. You want to stop after a mile. You want to stop and walk, but you got to keep telling yourself to keep running. So it was a very is work running was very difficult for me. It was not easy. It was not fun. And I think maybe around 2012, I started experiencing pain in my lower back from running, and so I was slowed down my running. I couldn't run as much because every time I run, it'll hurt for 2 days. Okay. I remember I asked you about the lower back. Very same time I had my lower back problem, same time that you did. So I had to quit running or cut down running. I tried seeing. They gave me all these exercises to do, but I just never did it. So I just quit running. So every year they have this Bike to Work Day. I don't know if you heard about it. They promote bicycling in Memphis. They promote people to bike to work every year, 1 day a year. So that's what that's when I decided to try it. I want to try bike to work. I didn't. Of course, I couldn't bike from Cordova to downtown. That's a little too far. So what I did was I drove my bike to East Memphis and got together with a group and ride downtown. And that was kind of fun because riding a bicycle is different than running. It's not as hard. It's not as hard. So then I started, getting into cycling, and it seems like the benefit from cycling is better than running for me, because running I may run 30 minutes to an hour. A bicycle I can ride for 2 hours, and very low effort. You know, it's not, you don't want to stop. It's not like you want to stop every 5 minutes. Running is like every 5 minutes you want to stop and walk. Nobody watching, I'm gonna stop. Car come by, I start running. But on a bicycle, it's so much easier. It's so much easier. Running on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe like 9, very difficult. But bicycling, it's maybe like a 4 or 5, very easy. And because my heart rate also is the same level when I bike, I actually got more benefit from bicycling than running. Okay, I had high blood pressure for a while, and then after cycling for a year, um, so cycling is really, it's better for me. But getting cycling is definitely more costly than running. Running, all you need is a pair of shoes. Okay, but cycling, it takes more of an investment, and that's why most of the people you see out there cycling in groups, they're not the younger people. They're more successful people because they can afford bicycle and equipment. So back in 2013, I found the group Memphis Hightailers. Okay, I've got some information here about the Memphis Hightailers. For people who might be interested. If you're interested, or share, maybe you can pass it around. But this is the group that I belong to. Because when you go, people riding with you in a big group, okay? Every group that I get together to ride is at least 20 to 30 people, okay? So it's very safe because cars can see a big group of people on a bicycle, okay? And when I ride, I always have a rear view mirror that attaches to my glasses. I can see cars coming up behind me. This is a rear view mirror. And when you ride, you always have to have a helmet. And on the helmet, I have two lights. I have one on my helmet, another one that I forgot I was charging that I keep here. But they can see you from miles away. Okay. And sometimes when we ride and it gets dark early, we have a light. This is kind of bright. Even if we ride in daylight, we turn it on like this because cars can see you. Okay. But the cycling club, you don't have to have any special bicycle to start. You can come in, the fat tire bicycle if you want. The reason why is because we have different groups. We have beginner group, intermediate, advanced, expert, etc. We have many different groups. One of these pages here, it tells you which. We have 1,500 members, and it's the fastest growing cycling club in the nation. We're voted the best cycling club of the year by League of American Bicyclists for 2016.
This is in Memphis.
This is in Memphis. Out of the whole country, we're voted #1 in the whole country. Because of all the group rides that we have, because how we're involved in the city and planning out, getting the cycling. You've probably seen all the different cycle routes in the city. Okay. The next biggest project is the Harahan Bridge that crosses the Mississippi River. They're going to turn that railroad track into a cycling, walking and cycling bridge, and we're involved in that. And this group has a group ride every day of the week except Friday. We have group rides every day of the week. So, and you can come and any kind of bicycle. But the only thing we ask that you come is to bring a helmet. Okay.
Is that a must?
Yes, you gotta have that.
Just a law.
We provide the group provide insurance for you in case you get hurt.
If you don't, then police will stop you.
They won't stop you, but because of our group, that's mandatory. You're gonna ride with our group, with this group. Okay.
Well, how much is the group, the member fee?
The member fee, which is cheap, because if you join a charity ride, it'll cost you $40-50 just to join. But this group only costs $25 for a whole year. Okay, this is very cheap. And besides, you get 10% off at any bicycle stores. And also during some of the bigger rides, they have mechanics to help you fix your bike. If your bike needs help. So there's a lot of benefit for being in this group. So I highly recommend anybody who want to try it, come out and join our ride. As a matter of fact, Ron joined us one time on Monday night. We have a beginner ride that starts at Germantown, Cameron Brown Park. We ride maybe 15-20 miles, very slow pace, and it's kind of a social ride. You talk to people when you're riding, you talk when you stop, you talk before you start, you talk afterward. So it's a good time to maybe talk to people, perhaps share your testimony. We have a lot of Christian in that group. I can tell because they post a lot of Christian stuff on Facebook. We have a few pastors that rise with us. We have one minister, one Catholic priest that rides with us. So it's a very good group, and if you're a runner and you want to try something different, to get into cycling, you don't need an expensive bike. I think maybe $600 or $700 will get you a decent bike to ride. But more people prefer the smaller tire because it's a lot easier to ride faster with a smaller tire. The bigger the tire, the more work you have to put into it. It's heavy. It's heavy. The more friction. So that's why people ride with small tires. And every time I ride, I say about 50% of the time, there's someone who having a flat. Okay, I am an official ride leader on Thursday and Tuesday night, so I help guide the group, the speed group that I'm in. I help keep everybody organized in one group, nobody stretch out, And if someone have a mechanical problem, I will help them. We'll find somebody to help them. I carry this right up here. I have tools. I have tools that I carry, But most of the tool that you really need is just to fix the flat tire, because most of the time it's just flat tire. I also carry this is for taking a tire off the wheel. I also carry a spare tube, just in case once you blow a tire, you need a spare tube. Good tires, but if you have good tires, since I've had this bike, I might have put 1,000 miles on it, and I've never had a flat. Never had a flat. Okay, so it's like if you have a good tire, you don't have to worry about having a flat. So,
That's not the same bike that you had when I rode with you.
No, it's a little different bike. It's a different. The one I rode is a blue one. Both of those bikes I bought used. Okay. Like I said, you don't need a very expensive bike, even though this is a carbon fiber. My original bike was a aluminum bike, only costs about $600. That's all you need to get started. But
And this one, how much? Just out of curiosity, how much is that one worth?
this one, without these wheels here, it originally retailed for like $4,500.
Yikes.
Can I have it?
The wheels are about $1,000 for two of them, two for two.
Wow. Even more expensive than car.
Well, you know, blue car I drive. This is more expensive than a blue car.
I just said, yeah, 4 tires, just
That's why you got
But
a lock on it.
You know, I don't buy these brand new. I bought this used from a doctor. You know, he paid $4,500, maybe $4,000. I paid him maybe $1,300.
Well, hey, that's a good deal.
$1,300.
Wow.
But I bought the wheels myself, which is about $1,000. So.
Was he in your bike club?
No, he was someone out of Jonesboro.
You mean the 1 tire, 1,000?
Two tires. No, two wheels, not the tires, just the wheels.
Talk about the frame.
The wheels. Just the wheels. The tires are maybe $50 each. But I ride with lights. I ride with GPS. The GPS is good because sometimes there's a lot of turns involved, and sometimes you may not be with anybody. You may be in it by yourself. So the GPS will tell you which way to go, left, right. So it's always good to have a GPS. So anyway,
Did you ride in the city bike lane?
Yes, we do not ride in the bike path behind
Green
house.
line?
Greenway.
Green
We
line?
don't ride behind your house.
Oh, okay.
You live by the
Yeah,
Greenway.
Greenway.
And the reason why is because you have walkers, runners, children. They may walk a couple of miles per hour, and then a bicycle pass. I'm doing 25 miles per hour. That's like I'll be on a highway. So we don't do that. It's not safe. It's not safe because we have so many people riding. So we ride on the street. We take up a whole lane just like a vehicle. Okay, just like a slow car. Okay, so we have every right to take up a lane. So anyway, that's my Christian testimony and my cycling history, cycling running history. Did you guys have any question about anything?